And we're back live, Videoguys Live. Today's show, NETGEAR. We've got Laurent on from NETGEAR. As you guys know, if you've watched our show, we love NETGEAR AV switches. The 4250 has been a lifesaver for us. As you know, if you're a Videoguys customer or viewer, we offer free tech support for the products we sell. And our number one tech support solution when people run into problems with NDI is what switch are you using, and inevitably they're using a switch that's either overly complicated, they don't understand how to configure it, or overly simple, it doesn't have the right features. And the beauty of the NETGEAR Pro AV switches is they combine all of the complexity and the almost intelligence that you need to handle AV over IP with such an easy to set up, to configure, to expand user interface. So we're so excited because we've been with you guys since really the beginning with the 4250, and now you have the 4350 series, which is really, you know, I like to joke, Spinal Tap, taking things to 11. Now you've taken it to like 15, 17, or even 20, because now you're embracing even the broadcast levels of IP with SMPT 2110. So why don't you go in a little bit and tell us about the 4350 series, and let's just jump right into the slide deck.
All right, Gary, thank you. So I like your analogy. It goes to 15, 16, but I also like to say that the 4350 next generation is the 4250 line on steroids. Why?
I love it.
Because the 4350, they just start where the 4250s, they just stop, if you wish. So the 4250s are great for compressed video, okay, compressed video at 1 gigabit with 10 gigabit uplinks for aggregation. Great for audio, AS67, Dante, QSys, and all that. But the 4350, well, they go much beyond, because beyond the 1 gigabit and the 10 gigabit uplinks, they come with multi-gigabit across the board. They come with much faster uplinks with 25 gigabit Ethernet and 100 gig Ethernet. So this time, it's actually not really much compressed video. We can handle any kind of uncompressed video with 10 gigabit, 25 gigabit, and even 100 gigabit. So multi-gigabit is key for the next generation of those codecs, including NDI, maybe with NDI 6, but also with some other encoders and decoders from the NVX, the AMX, the Dante AV, and all that. PoE is now standard across the board. And yes, you said it, at the bottom of this portfolio, the top of the line, 2 models will be shipping in early January with the brand new SMPTE profiles.
That's so awesome. I just want to bring this slide up so people understand there's now 3 families of switches. The 4250s we love. Those are perfect for folks with NDI, building your own little studio, your own little AV solution. The 4300 is a bit more scalable. It's got the 10 gig capability. It's when you want to go to a bigger network. And now with the 4350s, we're really talking about broadcast and/or enterprise level AV over IP.
Absolutely, thank you.
So you mentioned you mentioned PoE. Before we dig into the heavy technical stuff, let's do the little primer to just explain to people some things that are important. So we have this slide up, but PoE, power over Ethernet, there's different levels of it depending on how much watts you need. Total power delivery is important because each device is going to have a certain pull to it. And then SFP is more the high-speed interconnectivity between switches to each other that could be 1 gig, 10 gig, or even higher. So that was my little primer on the show. Now I want to push it over to you. You talked about NDI and Dante a little bit. We want to stress that all of your switches in the AV line support NDI, NDIHS, Dante AV, Dante AVH. But the real exciting news with the 4350s is 2110. So tell us a little bit about those profiles and what that really means.
All right, so I will demo a little bit at the end of this session, the latest software, what's going next in October. But what makes the NETGEAR AV line switches very special is that we don't ask you to know about those protocols for Dante AV or NDI or now SMPTE ST2110, in addition to AES67, boundary clock, and all that, because we factor all the certified configuration into a AV template that you can easily apply to a group of ports in the graphical AV user interface and a VLAN. So for instance, you can do SMPTE2110 very soon across the entire switch just by applying that profile to the VLAN 1. Done. One click. So this is how we want to participate to the standardization of AV over IP. You said it before, NETGEAR. You guys at Videoguys and Broadfield, you got a lot of trouble at the tech support, right? Because switching, when it doesn't work, this is ruining the entire AV. So we understood that, and instead of collecting configuration files and white papers and, big books, we went certification with those manufacturers. You were showing Panasonic, Keros, so we are very impatient to be certified real soon, early Q1, when those switches will be ready for prime. And when we have that certification approved, all problems eliminated, we then save it into a profile so that all of us, we can apply it with just one click.
So to simplify, the profiles allow you to instantly match whatever AV over IP protocol you're using. But I want to make sure everyone understands this. It's not all or nothing. I can set up my switch with a little Dante here, a little NDI there, a little 2110 here, however I need my configuration to work. I can set up VLANs, or I can have them communicate all together. And I think for someone without an IT real certification level, that is a scary thing to have to do. With your tools, it's graphically done. Not only is it easy to set up, but the part that I tell people is so amazing is that we all want to grow, right? Whatever I put in to start with today, I'm hoping to be able to add more stuff and make my production bigger and better, whether I'm a broadcast facility, an arena, a school, a mega church, whatever that is. It's so easy to add additional devices with the correct settings that they need immediately. I don't have to worry about digging into IP levels and figuring out, what I have to open and fire. It just works. I'm going to call it magic, but I know there's a whole lot of engineering that your team put into it. So talk to us a little bit about the magic in those those profiles, if you could, a little bit more.
Yeah. So as you said, I use an example for turning an entire switch into a NDI switch or a SMPTE switch. But yes, the beauty of it is that we can segregate, right? You can cut your switch into more little pieces and do control in a VLAN, do Dante, then do QSys and AS67 and video over IP with the codec, and then finally NDI and even broadcasting with the Zoom and the Teams at the same time. So we just use several VLANs by one click, applying the right certified configuration that has a name. All right. So I will demo that at the, probably in 5 to 10 minutes from now. Yeah.
Cool. So we have the 4250, 4300s. People are familiar with those. We've been selling them. Great success. The 4350 is what today's show is really about. These are really designed to go up to, 10, 25, 100 gig uplinks, redundant power supplies, 2110 support. This is the stuff that the big boys, the big hitters need. The people are going to putting in K-Roses, the people are going to put Grass Valley systems in. It's just amazing. So why don't you walk through this slide, which I love, which is the differences between the three families of switches, the 4250, the 4300, 4350. What I love is you kind of broke this into bandwidth, power supplies, chassis style. So take it away and walk our customers through, just so they can understand where these switches fit in each family.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah. So as you know, the 4250, they are standalone switches. They are standalone, and they have 1 gigabit ports with 10G uplinks for video. That's pretty much it. So yes, the 4300s were the previous top of the line at NETGEAR. They are still out there, great switches, but they also have 1 gigabit and 10 gigabit. So this is, only an exception with the big 96X2U big switcher that we could go up to the 40G. So the first difference on the new ones, the 4350, is that they can actually scale way more with multi-gigabit across the board, with way more 10 gig PoE, and with faster uplinks, 25 and 100G. Now, the second big difference is about power redundancy. When you go with the 4250 switch, well, there is a internal power supply. So there is no real power redundancy. You know, the 1+1 or the N+1 power redundancy when you have multiple power sources. So the 4300s so far were providing that with 2 modular PSUs, but we learned a lot about thermal and noise, intelligent fans with the 4250s. We applied that to the new 4350. The new 4350, they combine both of those worlds with an internal PSU for a very quiet operation and additional slots so that you can add more power and simultaneously redundancy. All right. So next on the finally on the look and feel, the chassis, you know, so the 4250, they are unique because they are designed for the AV rack. You can have the ports in the back, right? And on the front, you have this very neat information panel with LED. All the LEDs are duplicated. So the 4250s are reversible, so you can still have the ports on the front. But 4300s and 4350 are more enterprise class. You said it. So this is more designed for the server room or the technical room. So it means that we have a front to back cooling. On the front, we have the ports, and on the back, we have all the power cords and all the fans. All right. But I want to tell you something. The look and feel between 4250 and 4350, it's all black. So at least they can come along very nicely in a rack.
Cool. Now there's some important similarities. That is the core technology that you guys have built into all this, what I will call the NETGEAR AV over IP secret sauce, the magic that makes it all work. So walk us through this slide, another great slide. Guys, you can bring this one up a little bigger too while he discusses it.
Yeah, thank you, Gary, because of course we focus a lot on the differences and we can make it complex, right? So the good news is that the 4250s, the 4300s are previous top of the line, and the brand new generation, the 4350 that are here to stay for a long time, they all are based on the same breakthrough standards. I told you we want to help. We don't want to make it more complex. We want to help AV over IP by at the very least, standardizing the network fabric. So what we do across those lines, and this is the same software. Everything you know already is again available on the 4350. We can use those switches, mixing and matching them in any topology. We have a very intelligent multicast. So the multicasting is unique. It's called IGMP+. It doesn't flood. So you never have any risk of flooding multicast to your customer network or across the switches. Multicast always stays local until someone or something subscribes to it. We have totally automatic trunking so that you don't have to deal with the VLANs in between the switches. It's all automatic. And you have totally automatic trunking and link aggregation, auto lag, link aggregation, ether channel to speak the Cisco language, so that if you have multiple links between the switches, you don't have to configure any of it. So automatic multicast, automatic trunking, automatic link aggregation. Next is that, of course, all the profiles that we certify with currently 220 manufacturers, another 50 will be added most likely next year. All these profiles work across the board. So the AV user interface, the Engage controller, all those switches have that. And yes, the Engage controller is the common denominator. I will demo it. With the Engage controller, you don't even notice that you are using different series of switches. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the form factor is important for the decision, the power redundancy, and maybe the speed for the uplinks. After that, doesn't matter from a software standpoint.
Which also means if you know how to use the 4250s, you have no problem running the 4350s. Now, we talked about this a little bit when we were doing the test, and I want you to beat on it a little bit more, is you guys have actually created an AV switching operating system. So this is a little bit deeper than what people are really used to. There is a level of intelligence and just a platform here that this is just the beginning of the expansion. Obviously, you can go into a whole lot of places, but that's a huge dedication of resources. You guys jumped on that the world was going to AV over IP, and you said, we're going to teach the world how to do it right.
Absolutely. And it's thank you. At the beginning, those switches are fantastic IT switches. Okay, so all these switches can be used in a very standard IT environment. But we know that the IT is complicated, and cumbersome, and all these AV over IP technologies, they require very different configurations
Yep.
that can even conflict with each other. So yes, the operating system stays on top. So when you work with the NETGEAR AV line, you still have all the IT backend and all the CLI, the telnet, the SSH, the IT GUI, you name it. But more importantly, you don't want to touch it because you can profit from that upper layer, which is AV aware.
Yep.
That's what we call our AV operating system.
And I want to stress in the AV over IP world, they don't sometimes conflict. They always conflict unless you use a NETGEAR AV over IP switch, which handles those conflicts for you so you don't have to worry about them. Let's jump into your demo. You got a great little demo on how easy these are to configure. So let me turn the screen over to you and you can run your demo.
Thank you, Gary. So currently we have the NETGEAR Engage controller that can, it's free of charge. You go to netgear.com/engage and you can download it for free on the PC, Windows, or Mac. Of course, I want to demo the next version, the 1.3. So the 1.2 is currently available. Most of what I'm going to show today is already available, but I'm going to actually use my next version, which is 1.3, that is actually scheduled for October. So when we have this Engage controller, I have a PC right now, we are at the bottom of the devices discovering the switches that we just plug onto the network. As you can see, I have a desktop 4250 here that just wait to be onboarded. But I already have 4 switches that are in the controller. So when I have those switches onboarded into the controller, I can configure them all centrally. Instead of configuring switches one by one, which is still possible, of course, with the AV user interface, this time you can do it across the network much faster. So I have 4 switches, and yes, the topology is simple. It's a very simple core switch, fiber switch with 3 switches. Let me show you, Gary, how it works. Centrally for now, I have only one thing. This is the data management VLAN 1. That is default out of the box, okay? But of course, in this controller, I can manage the IP, the out of band, and what I do right now, only that, on the VLAN 1, I use one of those switches, my core switch, with a static IP address, and I run a DHCP server. All right, so that's all we got for now on that network. So Gary, what I would like to do with you now, we should actually try, I mean, we are going to succeed, you'll see, but we should configure a new broadcast domain, a new video NDI5 network in this network, okay? And because my control VLAN is the VLAN 1, I'm going to create a new VLAN. And
Awesome.
while we are at it, let's profit and do a DHCP server for the NDI cameras, right? And the production servers and the TriCasters and all that. So we are going to start from the side settings. This is our repository. We are going to create a new profile. So that's what we were mentioning, right? You have profiles in the AV user interface, but of course, all those profiles are available directly into the controller. So we are going to go through the NDI5 profile, and the great profile that we have for NDI5 certified at NDI TV, just go and check the NETGEAR VLAN is there. We can also do Dante, Q6, and AS67 with NDI5 without any problem. So video NDI5 is our template. Next, we are going to give it a name. That's our NDI network. VLAN ID, we are going to choose the VLAN 50 for it. And let's select a color, like a yellowish color, so that we can recognize the ports, okay? So VLAN 50, NDI template, yellow color. Next, we have our network. I'm not going to attach any NDI device at my core fiber switch. And we know we don't need to take care of it because auto trunk, auto lag, everything will be automatic at the core. But instead, I will select my first switch, GSM 4230 UP PoE++ 4250. And we just need to tell the system where we want to place our NDI devices. So let's say the 6 first ports. Now, let's say I want to do the same thing on the 2 other switches. You can even go faster by selecting this port count on that 30 UP we just did together and apply the same ports to the 2 other switches. So now see, we have 3 switches and we can see we have the ports 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 selected for all 3 of them. All right, so easy. We just did the layer 2 port assignment centrally. I'm going to apply and say, yes, we all agree with that. And see, now the question is, do we want to go to the further layer 3 step? Because now it's a layer 2, but we need DHCP, right, Gary? We need to have the same IP address all the time on the cameras and all that. So yes, we want to go to the VLAN wiring. So now we have this wizard, and here we need to tell what is that we want to do. So see my core switch, I will enable the core because I want to do the wiring, the DHCP server, the IGMP carrier. I want to centralize all that at the core. Let's click apply. I may want or not to enable wiring on the other switches. I can do it easily. This is just so that we can say, look, we have an IP interface for the VLAN 50 everywhere else. So now the controller knows exactly what we want to do. Let's click apply, and directly now we are ready to go to the VLAN wiring. It's all pre-configured for you. The DHCP server is as we want to it on the core switch. Let's create an interface, maybe 192.168.50.1 for that core switch for the VLAN NDI, the VLAN 50, maybe class C, right? And on the other switches, because we ask for an IP interface for VLAN 50, we just are going to say we want a DHCP client. The DHCP server, and that's the big new thing, and this is all available right now on Engage 1.2. We have the DHCP server preset because we said it already. We want to do a DHCP server right there. DHCP server for the NDI cameras, let's start at 100 and finish at 200 if you want to have some free space for your statics. Now DNS, we may not want to do internet, or we want, doesn't matter. If we want internet, we just need to have one DNS server, and it's a good time to apply. So we have an IP interface for the VLAN 50, easy at the core, and we have our DHCP server now. So when I click apply, all the configuration is sent to the switches, Gary. So in fact, nothing is in the controller, right? You can just use the controller to configure, and then after that, you don't really need it. Now I have even better. Before, it was a hell when you want to have static reservations. We needed to go to the IT GUI. I want to show that to you real quick. For the VLAN 50, under the basic, we have the advanced, and you have the DHCP address reservations right there. So it means that now we can just input a Excel file of some sort, so that if you already have all your MAC addresses for your TriCaster, for your NDI cameras, all your equipment and the IPs, you can upload the Excel file, or you can just click add, and the controller will tell you all the MAC addresses that we have on that VLAN 50 across the network, so that you can enter directly live IP addresses that you want over here. All right? So it's a good time to save right now. Let me go back to the topology and see what we have. Okay, so on the GSM 4230 UP, let me go to the physical topology real quick so that we can see it better. So the physical GSM 4230 UP is right there. It's going to come. All right. And I have those 6 yellow ports, all right? Yep. But as you can see, I have those PoE devices. They actually got an IP address right there, right away. But if we needed to reboot because they were stuck with another IP address, I really want to show it to you. That will be my conclusion, because after all, the AV user interface is still in the controller. So the same AV user interface you have on a standalone switch going to your browser, but I could reboot very easily the port 1, 3, and 5 over there by clicking the reset. It's stopping the PoE for 5, 6 seconds and restarting it so that you can acquire brand new DHCP address on your network. But this is what I wanted to show you quickly. I'm very happy now because we have in less than, 5 minutes, deployed NDI5 across the first 6 ports of that entire network. What is new in this 1.3 that is not available yet, because 1.2 is out with everything we just showed, but 1.3 is coming by mid-October. Under the device list, we have a maintenance. Now we can back up the entire configuration for all switches at once. We can do all the firmware updates with the schedule or immediately. So we have now all the architecture for updating the network during a maintenance window with the schedule and the automatic reboot when we want. And moreover, we now show the network monitoring so that in addition to the standard switches health, we can have all the statistics per ports, per VLAN for the drop packets, the bit rate, so that we can actually control what's going on, especially in between switches, fiber modules, and network logs. So Gary, that's what I wanted to show today. I hope it confirmed to you that, NDI5 can really be configured on the network in less than 5 minutes.
What's incredible is that kind of configuration before your AV over IP switches would have taken a couple of engineers working together, potentially a full day, because devices don't always give the right DHCPs, they don't connect. Everything you did, just so amazing. I know people maybe said a little too technical for what this sale is all about, but we thought it was so important to show you how easy it is. And that was literally hours of configuration done by 1 or 2 engineers together, done in 5 minutes with mouse clicks. And that's why we love these NETGEAR Pro AV switches. Now, I want to bring up this slide full page just because I want people to see the options for the power supplies in the back, that you can have an internal power supply and then 2 potential other power supplies. Can you talk to that a little bit? Because we know in the broadcast arena, optional redundant power supplies is like that you can't even get into a facility if you don't have redundant power supplies. We see that with the TriCaster TC2E. We see it with all our higher end broadcast stuff. So kudos to you for doing that, but that probably wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, well, we were doing it to be frank, right? On the 4300, it's also a requirement in many IT networks, especially at the core or in the server room. So as I said, we applied everything we learned with 4250 and 4350. So the acoustics, the thermal dissipation is night and day compared to 4300s. The 4350 are as quiet as the 4250 because the intelligent fans are always lowering the noise. But yes, you see that one, we named it the best of the best because that's a future-proof, nice guy with 48 port multi-gigabits, so ready for 1 gigabit today, 2.5 gig today and tomorrow, and with 4 very fast SFP28s, 25G uplinks. Just mean that if you have 4 DAC cables or 4 fiber links, you can have 100 gig of aggregated bandwidth back and forth, in both directions. But yes, the power supplies, as you can see, you have one internal. So that's easy. You can go with that switch without anything else. It's going to run. You're going to have a little bit of PoE, like 300 watts. And if you need more power over Ethernet, or if you need to add a second or a third source of power so that you have a non-disruptive, fell back in between, then you just go with modular PSUs in the PSU slots.
Awesome. Now you talked about PoE and multiple PoEs. I'm going to bring up this next chart. This is, you can explain what this is.
Yeah, so this is just an extract from the datasheet because we could spend an hour to provide all the different combinations. But take it easy, Gary. We have an internal power supply, okay? So if we don't use the modular slots, we have what? We have 194 watts of PoE budget, All
Right.
right. And all ports can go up to the 90 watts. It's PoE++. So, of course, if I have a power redundancy requirement, if I want to have 1+1 or 2+1, N+1 power redundancy, this chart explains really what is that we are getting based on which type of power supplies. The great new thing with 4350 is that we have a range of power supplies. So if you just need a little bit more of power, you go with the 350 watts. If you need a whole lot more power, you can go up to the 2000 watts PSUs that will bring that switch above the 3000 watts while being fully redundant for up to 1600 or 1600 watts. So this is in the datasheet. You just need to find the right combination that will meet your requirement.
Now I understand this. So the chart is really showing how you can mix the different power supplies in the slots to get aggregately more power if you want. So if I'm going to power a whole facility, I might need 2000 watts. We can get there from the single switch. That's cool. So the next thing, let's dig a little bit deeper. We talked about it earlier in the show, the AVOS, QoS, solving interoperability challenges. I would have to say that interoperability challenges are the biggest challenge to video over IP, and that goes for people in the video space with NDI or people in the audio space with the Dante stuff. And I love this little thing that you've got here. So talk about it, because you guys kind of solved the problem that no one else could, and that was, how does all this stuff not just talk to each other but work together in harmony?
Right. So you said it, Gary, and believe me, we learned that the very hard way, okay, over the years. So this is another of our contributions to the AV world. So what I mean on the left-hand side here is that AVB as such is working. And in our switches, it was working just fine. It still works in a VLAN. Dante is working too in a dedicated VLAN, but AES and QSys was using also an approved configuration, not a VLAN. But when you want to mix and match all that, if you want to do simultaneously AVB or Dante or QSys or AES67, then the quality of service settings between those protocols, they bump in each other. You know what I mean? So the DSCPs are conflicting. Dante is killing the Dante audio can kill the QSys timing, the QSys PTP profiles and timing packets. So so far we were, as everybody else, trusting those DSCP. But now it's over because we don't want to trust them anymore because they are not good. They conflict. So since June 1st, it's all live. You have 4250s, Videoguys. You can update the firmware. June 1st, we released a new firmware for every single of our switches, 4300s, 4350. We totally re-engineered the quality of service, and now we do very complicated things in the background, but you don't even have to know. We don't look at the DSCP values anymore. Instead, we just class match the PTP packets directly 22401XYZ, and we assign the fastest queue in our switches, whatever the profile you are using, so that you can mix and match Dante, QSys, AEX7, whatever in any of our profiles moving forward. And if, like at the big, concert shows all over the world where you have a mix of Dante and AVB for some other sources, now AVB also can live in harmony because the GPTP is not broken by the IP DSCP trust from these other protocols. So I'm happy to tell you that from now on, we can all live in harmony.
So basically, rather than conflicting each other, you're sending everything into the right lanes at the right speed, so everything works together as opposed to the constant clashing that these different solutions would always have.
Right. And well, you said it before, we got to use three or four of our AV/IP certified SEs on every of those installations to do that manually. Super fastidious. It's called diff serve. You need to do a class, then a policy, then bind it to the ports, So now it's all factored in the background in our AV operating system. See now the benefit of such a AV-aware operating system for you.
This was great. I want to thank you so much. And I know we got a little technical at times on today's show, but the 4350 is really intended for people at a broadcast or event scale level thing. But what we want to stress is that you're not going to need certified IT engineers all the time. Your AV people are going to be able to work with these switches and configure them and expand them and scale them up. So I want to talk about your website has some great information there. So if we can bring this up full screen, there's so many different product pages, but you have your AV portal, you have a training academy, you guys offer your own custom design help. So that's something that I really want to stress with you guys. Although these things are so simple and easy to use that we're talking about, your particular configuration is anything but simple. So if you've got this solution that you think is complex and you have questions for, hey, you can ask us about it, but you can even better, you can work with the AV design team at NETGEAR. And that's really talking to engineering level guys who can help you understand what you need for the right, they'll tell you what's the right size switch, what PoE you need, everything like that. And even better, they'll give you some tips on the best optimization for where you are, because they might say, you know, no, don't get one really big switch, get two little ones and use them, or get to put this one here, put that one there. They'll really help you understand whatever your facility or enterprise is that you're trying to scope out. And even better, they can talk the IT level language to your IT people who may be getting in the way from you setting this up, configuring it, or getting the purchase. So kudos to NETGEAR for having not just great products that have made video over IP so doable, AV over IP doable, but you've also thrown a level of support that really, it's still a complex thing, and sometimes you need help, and you guys have just the best team around for that help. So kudos to you and your team. It's one of the things that we really love about working with you guys. You know, I can't tell you how many times we get stumped, we call you guys, you help us, and they're like, that's an easy one, and sometimes they're like, hey, that one's a little tougher, we're gonna get back to you, but you always do, and it's always creative solutions, and you always keep in mind the end user's budget, the end user's technical ability, and the end user's overall expectations. I think that's, I can't stress that enough. If you set expectations correctly and you understand what the person's capabilities and budget is, we've got an AV over IP solution for you with NETGEAR that will be bulletproof, that'll let you grow your business, that'll let you grow your facility, let you expand it, and it'll let you manage it easily, as you showed in a 5-minute demo of something that used to take an hour, hours to do. So thank you so much, Laurent, for being on the show. I once again want to recap with this slide from earlier. 3 families of switches, the 4250s we've done several shows on, starting at $599.99, the 4300 managed switches, and the big 4350s really for enterprise level scalability, for the highest levels of complexity. They're there for you. They will work with Dante, NDI over IP, NDI, Dante, and now with the 4350, we're going to have SMPT 2110 support, which is fantastic. I knew we were going to run long. I don't mind it. It was a great show, but I always like to give my guests one last little word last word. What do you think of the show? What do you like? Anything? You get the last word. Take it away.
Thank you, Gary, and I want to stress this out a second time. Thanks to the video guys and to Broadfield for that live show. I mean, it's a great honor for us. I want to say 2 things. First, ProAVDesign at NETGEAR.com, ProAVDesign at NETGEAR.com. It's only 1 email, and under 2 hours, you have a great team that is able to help you. We set up Zoom calls, Teams call all day long. We are all over the place in the US, but also in Europe. So you can even reach out to us very late at night or super early on the East Coast as well. All right. Second thing, please check out the netgear.com/AV often, because we have a monthly and quarterly cadence. So all our software, the AV operating system, the AV UID Engage controller is going to be better and better. And I can't wait until next year when we will have even more breakthrough to share with you guys. So thank you.
Oh, I'm sure you will. I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank all our viewers for sticking around. I know the show went a little long. Remember, you know, like us on Facebook and YouTube, follow our blog, tune into stuff. You can call us at 800-323-2325 for your own questions for our team. And our team configures and uses the stuff that we're shooting this show on today. In fact, you might have noticed some new graphics today, folks. We've got the new FlowX engine going from VizRT. We're super excited about that. We'll be doing a show on that in the near future. So this is Gary from Videoguys, Laurent from NETGEAR. Thank you so much, and peace.
Videoguys is available Monday through Friday. give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.